The kids, they're an unbelievable group of kids.
Can you compare this gold medal to last year's at all?
They're all great. You don't compare any of them. They're all great.
Thanks very much, Coach.
Thank you.
And now, the moment they wait for. And they'll do it for the 14th time in Canadian history and the 4th consecutive year. Captain Carl Alsner will step up, as so many have done before him. He'll accept the World Championship trophy, and then the Canadians will get their gold medals.
Mr. Gilles Bourdeau, President of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Upon my ruling, Vice-President Kanadského svazu lední hokeje, and Mr. Mike Rooney, Vice Chairman of the Hockey Canada.
Gilles Bourdeau, the President of the Quebec Major Junior League, is going to be part of this presentation as well. And here comes the trophy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the captain of the winning team.
And Alsner steps forward. Second straight year with a gold medal for him.
Carl Alsner.
Legion's got a separated shoulder, but he can still raise the other hand in that trophy. And believe me, it may be small, but it takes 22 guys to lift it.
World Junior Championship for Team Canada.
And time now to accept their medals. And then they'll line up and listen to Canada for the 4th consecutive year. And this sets up Canada to go for 5 on home ice in Ottawa next year. There's Steve Stamkos. He'll be back next year, you'd have to think, unless he's in the NHL. Canada can bring 10 guys back. They completed the 5 in a row back in 1997 in Geneva, but what a chance to do it in front of their own fans. Matt Halashchuk, the overtime hero. P.K. Subban hasn't stopped smiling since he made the team.
Well, good organization, man. A second-round pick of the Montreal Canadiens. He cares. He did well when he played very well.
Drew Doughty.
Somebody's going to get lucky when they get him in the entry draft this summer. Guelph Storm, they should be so proud of him.
Schenn can come back. Sutter can come back. There's Wayne Simmons, one of the last guys to make this team. And remember that moment in Calgary when he found out. There's John Tavares. A year ago he was cut. Now he's a World Junior champion. Marchand.
He holds Affle just before him. Carl Alsner, the Calgary Hitmen. Zach Boychuk. Lethbridge in the Western Hockey League.
And for Craig Hartsburg, this is a 3rd straight gold medal. He was an assistant to Brent Sutter in Vancouver in 2006. Won gold last year in Lexington and gold again this year.
Clément Jaudoin, the head coach of the Rimouski Oceanic. That's Joe Corteau stepping up on him. And Curtis Hunt, the head coach of the Regina Pats.
And the training and medical staff will step up as well and receive their well-deserved medals. They've been away from bitter losses of his life was against Sweden in the Olympics. And now he's got a gold medal. There's Brad Pascal, Director of Operations for the men's hockey team. And now they'll line it up. And for the 14th time, with gold medals around their neck, they'll listen to O Canada. care how many times you've seen and heard that. It just gives you chills.
Especially when you do it here. When you do it over in Europe, it's something else. How about all the Canadian fan participation here, Gord?
It's just incredible. Thousands, literally thousands of Canadians came over from all over the country and around the world to see this tournament in the Czech Republic. The next 4 in a row, by the way, will be in North America. The next 2 are in Canada. 2011's in the United States, and then 2012 back in Canada. The Swiss, by the way, gave up the 2010 tournament in fear they might get relegated on home ice, and the Swiss were relegated this year. Denmark and Switzerland are out. Germany and Latvia will join the A pool next year for the World Junior Hockey Championship in Ottawa. And these Canadian kids are going to go over and salute their fans, and they deserve it.
This is a good lesson for everybody in how you handle adversity. This team faced adversity a bunch of different times. The first loss to Sweden, not having a great bounce-back game against Denmark, really struggling against Finland, and then blowing up and really playing well against the United States, really taking all that negative energy and turning it into a positive. And then today, Gord, getting out to a quick 2-0 start, and then all of a sudden see that evaporate to a tie, forcing overtime, and coming back and winning. They never quit on themselves, they never quit on the team, and they never quit on the country they represented. Good for them.
The celebration continues. It'll go on well into the night. Let's send you back to James Duffy and Bob McKenzie on a golden Saturday for Canada.
Thank you, gentlemen. The crowd there sounds like it's Red Deer and not Pardubice in the Czech Republic. Wow, what a finish, what a game for Canada. And there is that giant flag that James Cebulski had told you about. And here's a new tradition for Team Canada at the World Juniors. You heard Stefan Legion during the national anthem as the camera went by him saying, "I told you, Canada, I told you," in a pregame interview before the quarterfinal against Finland. Legion said, "We're going to win the gold medal." It wasn't a Messier-ish prediction, but just sort of threw it in at the end of an interview. You saw as we went along the national anthems through those last 2 games. First time he said, 2 more, Canada, 2 more. Then after the semifinal win, 1 more, and then told you, Canada, and he did. But it was a lot closer, I think, Bob McKenzie, than a lot of Canadians would have hoped for. There's the traditional team picture.
Well, absolutely, and somewhere in there, Stefan Legion trying to keep his injured shoulder intact. That was a big loss for Team Canada early in this game, but they rallied back, and it was a great hockey game. Full credit to the Swedes for coming back in the 3rd period and really making a game of it.
We heard from, at the beginning of the show, Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer and some of the great NHLers, Joe Thornton, that had won this. And you can bet that this photograph, or their year's version of it, hangs in every one of their homes. This is a memory that NHLers, guys who go on and play 15 years in the NHL, or guys who never go on to play in the NHL, will never forget.
Absolutely, and when they look back on this World Junior, they're going to talk about the contributions of young kids like Stamkos and Tavares, and what a great feat this was for the coaching staff, Craig Hartsburg, Clem Jourdain, Curtis Hunt. And Craig Hartsburg pushed all the right buttons in this one, and as Pierre and Gord pointed out, a lot of adversity. This was not the overwhelming run through the tournament, knock everybody off thing that it was back in North Dakota and to some degree Vancouver. This one was hard sledding all the way.
And so the country is introduced to Matt Hallis.